Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick Smith, and I would like to introduce you to my team's topic of emotion, which is disappointment.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alecia and throughout this presentation, me and Patrick will be introducing you to the emotion of disappointment and providing examples of different definitions of it. In addition, we will provide examples of Likert type scales of disappointment, as well as show you the creation of our Likert type scale from the sports fan perspective.
In sports, we see teams making choices on the field and off the field, and that can possibly lead to success. As a sports fan, it is easy to look at a team that has not performed up to expectations and possibly lead to a sports fan feeling disappointed in their team, and that is why we chose disappointment.
Disappointment can be defined as failing to fulfill someone's hopes or expectations. The emotion of disappointment is felt every day in a myriad number of ways. Sports teams can disappoint by not winning, not signing the right free agent, making poor trades, raising ticket prices, etc.
Throughout this semester, we have developed a definition of the concept of disappointment from a sports fan perspective and developed a Likert type scale in order to measure disappointment. With that, we have two research questions. One, defining disappointment concept from a sport fan perspective, and two, developing a Likert type scale to measure disappointment.
In order to successfully do this, throughout the semester, we had expert interviews, reviewed countless pieces of literature in regard to failing to live up to expectations set upon something, and analyzed all of the content provided in this class.
To be able to understand disappointment and be able to define it from a sports fan's perspective, we focused on three separate theories in regard to disappointment. The first theory looked at was disappointment theory, which is produced by David Bell in 1985, the self-discrepancy theory by Torrey E. Higgins in 1989, and then disappointment aversion theory by Farouk Gul in 1991.
Disappointment aversion theory, proposed by Farouk Gul, is a theory that explains how people make decisions in situations of uncertainty and risk. The theory suggests that people are averse to experiencing disappointment, which is the feeling of getting an outcome that is worse than their expectation, and they take actions to avoid it. According to the theory, individuals form expectations about the possible outcomes of their decisions and evaluate them based on their subjective preferences. They prefer options that have a higher expected value or a higher likelihood of meeting or exceeding their expectations. However, they also weigh the potential disappointment associated with each option and may choose a lower expected value option that has a lower likelihood of disappointment.
The next theory we looked at was disappointment theory by David E. Bell, and it is particularly relevant in the context of customer retention, as it suggests that companies should focus not only on providing high-quality products or services, but also managing customer expectations. By setting realistic expectations and exceeding them, companies can create a positive experience for their customers and increase the likelihood of repeat business. Conversely, if a company overpromises and underdelivers, it can create a sense of disappointment.
Self-discrepancy theory, proposed by Torrey Higgins, suggests that individuals may experience disappointment when there is a discrepancy between their actual self and their ideal or ought self. Disappointment arises when an individual fails to meet their own standards, which may lead to negative emotions such as shame or guilt. The theory proposes that people are motivated to reduce this discrepancy by changing their behavior or adjusting their self-concept. For example, they may adjust their ideal or ought selves to be more aligned with their actual self, or they may change their behavior to better match their self-representations.
So one of the expert interviews that we did was with Jesse Codzillo. He's the executive director of the Orleans County YMCA. We asked two questions regarding the emotion of disappointment. One being, do you have any regrets about the career path you chose? And the other question being, do you currently have any disappointing feeling about the current position you are in? Jesse responded to the first question saying he does not have any regrets because he would not have the successful career if he chose differently. His answer to the second question was, he's not disappointed about my job. Yes, it is stressful at times, but he loves the job and the people working there as well.
Disappointment can be measured in many different forms. There are 3 different ways we believe it is best measured from a sports fan perspective. The first measurement is self-reported disappointment, in which a fan can fill out a questionnaire in which asks a fan to rate their level of disappointment. Another way we could measure disappointment is by looking at a fan engagement following a loss. With this measurement, we can see the influence of a loss has on the likelihood of a fan spending money on merchandise, tickets, or other team-related items after the team does not succeed. Lastly, we can measure disappointment by looking at media coverage. If the team is receiving negative media coverage that is criticizing the team, it could indicate a higher level of disappointment amongst fans.
The first Likert type scale we looked at is about parents and their perceived disappointment in their child. Within this scale, we see questions directed at children in which they can measure the level of disappointments they have with them and how they're aware of it. Such questions will ask how they know their parents are disappointed, such as, I know my father's disappointed in me because he tells me directly or he overhears it. There's many more questions like this, and within this scale, you get to pick between a 1 through 5 scale of saying most likely and least likely.
In the second Likert type scale we looked at, fans of the Cleveland Browns were asked to describe how they felt towards the season in terms of the Browns' success. The fans were given statements to measure their feeling of being let down, being disappointed, and feeling as if the season turned out as expected.
And the final Likert type scale we looked at has to do with an individual feeling disappointed or bad in regards to the life they are living. Within the scale, you see statements such as, I wish I made a different choice, I'm sorry about what happened to me, I'm satisfied with what has happened to me, and I feel responsible for what has happened to me. After these statements, the individual answering them would also get a scale from 1 to 5 for most likely to least likely to describe how they feel in terms of disappointment.
Within our Likert type scale, based on the perspective of a sports fan, these are our statements. Statement 1, my expectations for my favorite sport team were met this season. Statement 2, I left feeling satisfied with how my favorite sports team performed this season. Statement 3, I feel as though my favorite sports team left a lot to be desired from the way they performed. Statement 4, my favorite sports team performance this season has left me feeling let down and disappointed. Statement 5, I wish my favorite sports team had more successful season. Statement 6, the way my favorite sports team performed this season has me excited for next season. Once an individual looks at this scale, they will circle a number 1 through 5, with 1 being least likely and 5 being most likely.
Disappointment can have a significant impact on consumer behavior as it can influence a customer's future purchasing decisions and brand loyalty. So if you have disappointment, you have a decreased repurchase intention, negative word of mouth, and reduced brand loyalty. Disappointment can have significant consequences for consumer behavior, and companies must take steps to manage their customers' expectations and address any issues promptly to minimize the impact of disappointment.
Disappointment is a negative emotion that can have a significant impact on behaviors such as decreased motivation, reduced risk-taking, negative biases, and decreased satisfaction.
And that concludes our presentation today. And these are all of our references we used for this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.